In the fabled land of Northern California, nestled in the Valley of Sacramento, two friends begin a journey to enlighten the world about their experience living life as a Xennial. But what is a Xennial, you may ask? If you wish to know, then follow them on their adventures.
Welcome to the Xennial Chronicles. This is James.
This is Mike.
And we are coming to you today on, I don't know, how many days has it been since there's been the stay-at-home, the shelter-at-home order happening because of the coronavirus?
Yeah, the shelter-at-home order has been...
A couple of days now? 5, 6 days? Depending on which county you live in?
Thursday. We're recording on Monday, so it's about 5, 6 days, yeah.
Yep. And we're doing something a little special this Monday. This is going to be the first one of these that you hear. We want to make sure we're still getting content to you. For the few, yes. 5 or 6 people that listen, at least...
Hey, man, you need entertainment right now. You're stuck up in your home, most likely.
Very much so. And you can listen to us have conversations.
Yeah. Hopefully this is some form of entertainment that at least, keeps your mind off things, yes. Even though we just talked about it.
Well, we're mentioning it we're going to mention it at the beginning of the podcast, but we're going to make sure the podcast does not focus on the situation. We're going to try to focus on some of our fun topics we like to talk about.
Yeah.
Movies, music, topics that make Mike uncomfortable. That's a couple of podcasts coming.
Yeah.
And we're recording actually a few of them in one day so that we can have just this one day for the next month or so that we meet up together to do the recording so that we can follow the shelter-at-home rules as much as possible.
Yes.
Because face it, we don't want this thing to spread any more than necessary.
Of course
we
not.
don't want any more people to be sick and dying. We want this to go its own way and get back to regular life as soon as we can.
Absolutely.
So, on that note, we're going to start focusing right now on the topic for this specific podcast. Now, we mentioned it before in a couple of the earlier podcasts that we were going to have this topic. Today, we're going to have it. And maybe this will be some inspiration of some things for you to do to pass the time. What we're talking about here is...
Pop open your Netflix and
exactly.
do some stuff.
Netflix actually is a big point in this. It comes up later.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, very big point in this.
Yeah.
What we're talking about today is Adam Sandler.
Yeah, we're going to see how this goes. Both of us, I'm sure, have relatively different memories of Adam Sandler just in general. Like, they both tend to intertwine. But I wasn't introduced to Adam Sandler in the movies. Well, okay. I was. Probably the same movie everybody else was.
What? Let's get to that.
Okay.
Let's get to that.
Okay.
But I'm guessing also you were introduced either by music or SNL. One of the two of those.
Everybody was introduced to him by SNL, but I didn't know him as an independent comedian until the comedy albums came out.
The comedy albums, yeah. Which we're not focusing on today. We're really talking more about his movies today. Okay. But we will do it. We will do a little bit on his comedy albums.
No. I'm not like super disappointed.
Well, that's one, by the way. We can do one on his comedy albums.
Okay.
But that's one that you are going to have to do the kind of, you're going to have to play the me role. Yeah, because I really am, the only thing I know literally is the Hanukkah song. That's,
oh, man.
Well, didn't he do the Lunch Lady song too?
He did Lunch Lady Land. He did the Hanukkah song.
Yeah.
He did a bunch of them.
Those are the only ones that I really know.
Most well known, like most of the stuff that I remember from like high school and like middle school were the sketches. My Lord, dude, the buffoon sketches, and
it's very possible I heard some of these, but I just never was
the peeper
overly cognizant of
the severe beating sketches, the severe beating of a high school janitor and a high school Spanish teacher, like those.
Okay, this is one we'll have to do in the future, and this will be like an Adam Sandler revisited.
Dude, I will do a whole I'll do a whole thing on that because I'm telling you right now, like the amount of people that were involved in those albums. There's a ton, and not just his regular team. Yeah,
because he does seem to have a regular group of people that he works with.
He did,
especially recently. He's got a core group that he that he does almost all of his stuff with, which we will get to because I have a kind of theory about this, which is a very prevalent theory. It's not just mine; it's a very prevalent theory about how Adam Sandler does his movies nowadays.
Okay.
But we're going to go back. We're going to go back to the days of yore. Back to 1989. And by the way, the reason we're talking about Adam Sandler so much is...
Oh my goodness, you're going all the way back.
Oh yes, I am. Though Adam Sandler is not a Xennial by his age, he is a comedian that hit the scene during the time frame that Xennials were
he was a comedian for our formative years, man.
Yeah, he was he during our teenage years, during that time coming up, he was one of the main comedians, one of the main film draws as a comedian at that time. Main draws on SNL at that time.
No, he was I would consider him as a comedy great, not necessarily quote unquote.
Yeah,
like he was on the. He had the draw for our generation.
Yes.
That like Carlin and Pryor had.
Yes, or Murphy.
Yeah. Yeah, he was.
I remember
his movies were huge.
Yeah.
His
I remember being
were huge. I
remember being a kid, like 6 or 7, and watching with my brothers Eddie Murphy Raw. And my parents going nuts that they were having me watch that with them. But, my brothers were getting a kick out of watching it. And I thought it was funny. It was good humor.
Yeah.
The super tight leather suit he was wearing was a little weird, but whatever. But
both of them, both the red and the purple one.
But that was you're right. Murphy was their humor. Adam Sandler was kind of one of the big knock down the doors comedians for us.
Yes.
And it started when he was 17, actually, when he was his brother had encouraged him to start doing stand-up comedy work. But he actually had his first movie. Most people would think his first movie, at least his first starring role movie, was Billy Madison. That one we're going to touch on later.
We will.
Because his first starting movie was actually the first movie he was in. He had a bit part in The Cosby Show as one of Theo's friends.
Oh, man.
Smitty was the name of the character.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was on like 4 episodes of The Cosby Show.
Wow.
Now keep in mind, people from the younger generations
I've never seen this.
From what they know about Bill Cosby now, after all the things have come out, you have to understand, in the 80s, The Cosby Show was one of the biggest shows in existence.
Oh, that's why it was so devastating for that to happen. When the truth came out
about Bill Cosby,
about Bill,
this was one of America's dads.
Crazy, yeah.
But anyway,
that's what he was.
Anyway,
yeah, it's a whole different story.
A whole different thing. But that was one of his first roles. Was a couple of episodes on that as one of Theo's friends.
Yeah.
But in 1989, he got his first starring role in a movie, and it was a low budget film. It was a film called Going Overboard.
I've never seen the film.
But you've seen
I remember working at Blockbuster back in the day and seeing the VHS cover tape, and it looks like shit.
Well,
it looks like a terrible movie.
He's a comedian that's trying to break into the comedy circuit and ends up trying to do it on a cruise ship.
Oh, boy. Okay.
But what's really funny about
this is like similar tier to like Rubberface, right?
Probably.
Okay.
But
another comedian we should do some concentration on.
Or Once Bitten, which I actually just watched the other day again.
Oh, Once Bitten's
I love that movie.
Fantastic film.
Oh, it is. It is.
Oh yeah, I love Once Bitten.
Well, we're talking about Jim Carrey, by the way, which yes, we will do, because Jim Carrey was the main comedian one of the main comedians on the other big show at that time, the other big late night sketch show, In Living Color. We will have to do something on him at one point or another. That will be a little more dramatic because there are times that I love Jim Carrey and times that I have much hatred for Jim Carrey.
It depends.
Especially considering some of the people that he's cohabitated with, which will come up in one of the other podcasts that we're recording today because of timing.
This is like one of, what are we, marathoning like 4 of these things?
4, maybe 5. We'll see what we can get through today.
Woo, boy.
But anyway. What's interesting about this movie is I was doing the research on Adam Sandler with this Going Overboard movie. I haven't seen it either. I remember the cover at Blockbuster 2 and just thinking, oh my God, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
This is before anybody really knew anything about him.
Yeah.
What's funny is another actor that's in this movie. And just because of this other actor, I'm going to have to watch Going Overboard.
Okay.
And when I tell you this other actor, you're going to have to watch it. Now, keep in mind, this is in 1989.
Okay.
Previously, we did our Kurt Russell episode.
Yeah.
And we talked about Tombstone.
Yes.
The fantastic Tombstone movie and all the different stars in Tombstone.
Yes.
Well, there's a star in Tombstone that has a very memorable scene in Tombstone.
Oh, my.
That is in Going Overboard.
Oh, my God.
And in fact, it's memorable. The scene is memorable because I believe you said that all of his stuff in his scene was completely ad-libbed by him.
Shut up. Billy Bob is not in Going Overboard.
Billy Bob Thornton is in the movie Going Overboard.
Oh, my Lord.
So this was well before Tombstone, well before anything that people would know Billy Bob Thornton from. This is an early Billy Bob Thornton role.
Oh, man. Okay.
That makes me want to see it right then. I'm like, I really need to see this. It was the 4th movie that Billy Bob Thornton had done. The 4th movie.
And... oh, I've got to see this scene. Yes. We're just going to
have to see.
I just got to go watch it.
Who the hell he was in this and what happened. So between Going Overboard and some of the bigger roles that people would start to see him in. He had about a 4-year span where he did a lot of bit parts in movies.
Oh, okay.
A lot of small secondary parts.
Okay.
The two most notable of these would probably be Shakes the Clown, at least in my opinion, an amazingly dark comedy starring Bobcat Goldthwait. And with some amazing cameos in it.
It's so messed up, but it's funny.
It is a dark movie. Don't go into it thinking it's not, but it is hilarious.
We will tell you that this movie is horribly dark, but it is very much recommended watching.
Learn how to speak. Oh, it's great. That was in 91. And then he had a bit part in Coneheads in 93.
Oh, man, I got to go back and watch Coneheads again. Did he play a boyfriend or something like that?
No, in Coneheads, I believe he's the guy that's giving new identity paperwork to the Coneheads, to Dan Aykroyd's character. Giving him like a new driver's license and social security number, new name and all that.
That was Lauren that hooked him up for that scene, too.
Well, actually, the reason that happened is in 1989, 1990, around in that time period, 88, 89, 90, Dennis Miller, a name that most people should know, and if you don't, Google it and learn some things. Dennis Miller actually saw Sandler doing stand-up work.
Oh.
And recommended him for a job.
Really?
He called up an old buddy of his, buddy named Lorne.
Yep.
Lorne Michaels. Recommended him for a job, and in 1990, he was hired on to SNL as a writer originally.
Did he audition?
I do not know whether he went through an audition process.
Because I know there are a ton of people that auditioned and got the job, and well, I mean, it's a very tough process to get in when you're auditioning. But
it is,
yeah.
But he started out as a writer in 1990 and was made into a featured player in 91. Interestingly, his tenure, even though he's remembered so much for many of the things he did on SNL, his tenure only lasted until 1995.
He was only there for 4 years?
Yes. In which time,
Kenan Thompson has like quintupled that.
Oh, Kenan Thompson's the longest ever.
Yeah.
Period.
Which is crazy because I thought Michael McKean was the longest.
No, yeah, Kenan Thompson's way
beat out
overdone
Michael McKean, and Michael McKean was there for friggin' ever.
But the interesting thing is, of course, he was fired at the exact same time as his buddy Chris Farley.
Oh, they were both fired?
Both fired in 95. Never really given a reason as to why they were both fired.
No.
Although both of them started seeing their movie careers take off, and this is the key. In 95, he was fired. So again, during the Coneheads, which was an SNL-based movie, because the Coneheads originated on SNL, obviously he was hooked up with a part. Then you have 94. And this may be the first movie
remember.
This may be the first movie that you were introduced to Adam Sandler in. I remember this movie because at the time, the main star of the movie was riding a wave of being one of the biggest actors in Hollywood. And that main star being Brendan Fraser. The movie I'm talking about, question for you.
Okay.
Who would win in a wrestling match, God or Lemmy?
Of course.
Trick question.
Lemmy is God.
Yes. And that would be Airheads.
Okay. I was like, wait a minute, Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Airheads,
which hooked him up with Steve Buscemi, which is actually one of the people that regularly appears in many of his movies later.
Oh, yeah.
And he had a bit part, but he definitely did a very good part in that. Yeah. Really showed his chops. And to me, the Lemmy is God thing is one of those things to remember from that movie.
Oh, yeah.
But I will always remember them asking for naked pictures of B. Arthur. Because, I mean, even as a kid, it's like, he wants to see one of the Golden Girls naked? All right, I guess. I'll look. But seriously.
Of course.
That's in 94. But then 95 happens. Right around the time he got fired from SNL.
Right.
And you get his first real big starring role movie.
Right.
The movie that basically started the machine that became Adam Sandler.
Right.
As a film star. And that would be Billy Madison.
Right. No.
Is that your first introduction to him?
No.
Interesting.
I missed Billy Madison when it came out. My introduction was the next film he did.
Yes, which was actually mine. And interestingly enough, one of the first 5 VHSs that I owned personally.
I went and saw it in the theater.
Oh, you saw it in the theater. Lucky you, sir.
I went and saw it in the theater.
I'm hoping I'm talking about the right movie.
I hope so, too.
So that was in 95. That was his first, again, major starring role. And first time you started to see a few of the cast of characters that ends up around him start to appear around him in different films.
Yeah.
The next one is in 96. And this one is what really starts to solidify his cast of characters and his kind of brand of comedy that he would bring forth.
Yes.
And that would be Happy Gilmore.
Yep.
So it was the right one.
It was the right one.
And I can
That's
tell
the
you,
one.
I still to this day love Happy Gilmore. Every time I see it on anywhere, I have to watch it.
Oh, yes.
I forget the actor's name, but he's Shooter McGavin. And he will always only be known as Shooter McGavin to me.
Oh, dude, there's still memes today that come out in reference to Shooter McGavin. No, like him as an actor, I don't remember his damn name.
Yeah.
But there's Shooter McGavin memes that still come out today all the time.
And then
that movie has crossed over to like Gen Zers.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's a fantastic film.
And then the fact that I remember watching it one of the first times, and my dad's watching it, he's like, "Oh, it's Jaws from James Bond."
Yes.
And I'm like, okay,
the boss,
his boss that he shoots in the head with a nail gun. By the way, did you know that at that time the scene of him running after Shooter McGavin at the end, that's totally faked? He could not run at that moment in his life. He had some personal back injuries.
Oh.
If you go back and watch that movie,
there's no footage of seeing him actually run.
Well, no. Every time you see him, he's standing, leaning up against something because he could not even stand on his own weight at that point in time. But it
was just his bone structure. It just wasn't working.
Adam Sandler wanted him in the movie so badly. He had some previous injuries that were really bad injuries to him.
Aww.
Richard Keel, I think, is his name.
That's
anyway,
sad.
But Happy Gilmore introduces us, of course, to the best golf instructor ever, Chubbs.
Yes.
Which an amazing part by Carl Weathers. I mean, anything he does now, you watch him and you see him as Apollo Creed in the Rocky movies, and then he goes and does this.
Yep.
And the level of humor of him being a golf instructor with one hand is just amazing.
Not only that, but he was a golf instructor with one hand that lost it to wrestling an alligator that was in a water trap on a golf course.
Yes, I mean, how beautiful is that?
Yeah.
And then dies when he's presented with the dead alligator that ate his hand. He falls out a window and dies.
I got his head.
And it's actually key. It's key that he falls out the window and dies. Mm-hmm. Because again, it's part of this universe. It's almost a cinematic universe that Happy Gilmore starts to build.
Yep.
And in fact,
I don't think Billy Madison's part of that universe.
Well,
yet. I don't think.
You don't know for sure if it is. I think there may be some references. I'd have to check to be sure.
Got like Tarantino
but
level.
Keep in mind that his production company was named Happy Madison after this.
Of course,
because those two movies are what really catapulted him to be able to make the movies he wanted to make.
Yeah.
Then you have an interesting one, Bulletproof, with Damon Wayans. We're going to go quickly through some of these.
There's two scenes I remember.
I barely remember that movie.
There's two scenes I remember. There's a hotel room scene that I remember.
Yeah.
And the scene where they're pulled over by a police officer, I believe.
Because the joke here is probably
super crude.
The joke here is probably
and not going to fly today.
Damon Wayans is the cop, and Adam Sandler's the crook in this.
I will skip the pullover scene because it's extremely crude, and the joke definitely would not fly.
Is it an N-word thing, or is it about them being homosexual?
It's in reference to it's a joke that's in reference to like mentally challenged people. I'm just not going to.
Got it.
I'm not going to.
No, especially not with what we're doing later.
No.
Okay.
But it was. But I think my favorite line in the film was they're in a hotel room, and it's just this side ad lib line, and I think that he ad libbed the line because it's just such an Adam Sandler thing to say, but it's not anything.
What is it? What is the line?
So they go into the hotel room. Sandler's cuffed up because it's Damon Wayans' character that has Sandler's character arrested.
Yeah.
And Sandler is cuffed up, and he's sitting on the bed, and they turn on the TV, and it's hotel room porn on the TV.
Funny.
And he's sitting there cuffed up, and he goes, "You know how I know this is 70s porn? The guy's dick has sideburns." It's just such a dumb line.
That makes a lot of sense, though.
It's an Adam Sandler thing and he says it so like cool and like nonchalant.
By the way, I just want to comment on the fact that you told that as the scene from there. That's so beautiful, considering again what we're going to be talking about in the later podcast today.
Yes,
so brilliant. I love these interconnections.
Prepare in like 3 weeks.
We're creating our own universal continuity right here. Don't spit your tea out, bro. Don't spit your tea out. All right. So we have Bulletproof. Then we have, and that was in 96 again. Now we jump to 98, and 98 was a busy year because we get another 2 movies. Wedding Singer, which is the first time he works with Drew Barrymore.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wedding Singer's a fantastic film.
And Wedding Singer really starts bringing in...
I don't remember any past Adam Sandler films from around the 90s or even around the turn of the century that were particularly bad.
Well, then let me move through them fairly quickly so we can get through these. And in the second half, we can talk more about the ones we like.
Okay.
So we got Wedding Singer. We got Waterboy, also in 98.
Waterboy is a hit, dude. A hit and a half.
Then
it was one of the biggest ones he ever did.
Still love that movie, too. Every time it's on, I got to watch it.
Oh, yeah.
Big Daddy in 99.
Uh-huh.
Little Nicky in 2000. Which that one shares a special connection with you and I. Cause
it helps develop the universe that he's talking about, too.
It does, especially because of who we find hanging out in heaven being a tennis instructor.
Yep.
That would be Chubbs again.
Yeah.
Then we have a little bit of a detour. In 2002, he does a little detour movie. He tries to do a little bit of a serious, dramatic movie.
I remember this.
A movie called Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah, and I remember it was a hit, too.
Well, most interesting about it is when you look at the director, because I was like, he did this, but why? What was the impetus to go and do this weird kind of thing? It's a Paul Thomas Anderson movie.
Yes.
Which then makes total sense on the serious and kind of weird nature of that film.
Yeah.
But in the same year, he goes right back into comedy with the remake of Mr. Deeds. Which,
John Turturro, bro.
Oh, John Turturro is amazing.
John Turturro is amazing.
He's so good in that movie. Then you get, also in 2002, 8 Crazy Nights, his animated film.
That wasn't a bad one either.
It was interesting.
It was good. I thought it was healthy because it was representative. You didn't have a lot of Hanukkah movies. I've never seen a Hanukkah movie aside from that one.
Very rare to see Hanukkah movies, so yeah.
I thought that was really cool just to see.
Yeah.
Just to see that it was out there. But at the same time,
it was a weird movie.
It was animated well. There's some good lessons in it, I think.
It's got some good morality in it.
Good morality, good lessons in general. I really liked it.
So in 2003, he's back into comedy for the most part, full bore.
Uh-huh.
But he starts collecting in 2003 big stars to be in movies with him.
Okay.
So in 2003, he does Anger Management. He's able to reel in a huge star like Jack Nicholson to be in a movie with him. Then he does Spanglish, which I believe...
I didn't see Spanglish. I did see Anger Management.
Yeah, from Correct.
That shit was funny.
Which one did he bring in for Spanglish? Was that the first time he worked with Selma, or was that... Because Selma Hayek has been in a couple of movies with him. Work Phone Work. You did all your research, but you don't have the information, James. You are fired from your job. We will get a robot to replace you. He will at least be... I don't know. With proper attitude.
Proper attitude.
I lost it. It was funny.
Damn it, James.
It was funny, and then it stopped being funny because I couldn't keep going.
I'm sorry.
That's what she said.
I'm sorry?
Maybe both. I don't know. Let me see here. And I did all this preparation. I feel like the idiot now. Here we go.
Oh, he found it.
I found it, and it's... He actually, for that one, he brought in...
Is this considered dead air?
He brought in Téa Leoni and Paz Vega, which at the time, Paz Vega was kind of a rising star.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, Cloris Leachman's in that as well, which, I mean, anytime Cloris Leachman is in something, is amazing. And then you get 50 First Dates in 2004 as well.
That was a good one.
Which is the second pairing with Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
And this starts another one of his things. Like, as his career's getting further along here in the aughts, he's starting to do a few things with it. Part of it has to do with the fact of how much money he has been able to make with all of his films. Every one of his movies, for the most part, for relatively low budgets for Hollywood, makes tons of money, makes way more back than what their budget is. Yeah. And that's why people like that continually make movies, is because Hollywood's just throwing money at them. You're going to make a movie for $60 million and it's going to make $400 million in the box office? Sure, fine. Yeah. Now, something like Star Wars makes $400 million at the box office, or any Marvel movie, period, makes that. It's a complete and utter bomb.
Oh, it's because it costs $350 million to make.
Exactly. But if you take a $60 million movie and it can make $400 million, you can make movies as much as you want to. Mm-hmm. They will constantly let you make movies. And this is what he does well. He makes movies that make a decent amount of money, but make way more than what their budget is, because he keeps the budget relatively low.
Right.
And he's able to keep busy and keep doing things, and then start bringing in various things to make his life more enjoyable while he's making them.
Yeah.
This is the start of the other thing that he was doing. Like I said, in anger management, he was trying to bring in big stars to be in the movies with him.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts doing that.
Mm-hmm.
In 50 First Dates, he starts his vacation getaway movies. This is the start of him finding a cool locale to set a movie so that him and his family can basically have a vacation while they're filming the movie.
Oh, is that what he was doing?
It gets more interesting as you go further on in this.
Okay.
So then you get, in 2005, you get The Longest Yard remake with one of the original stars, Burt Reynolds. Mm-hmm. Again, big star.
Isn't he a coach in that one, though?
Burt Reynolds, no, he's not a coach.
Who is he in that one?
He's technically another, he plays the part of Nate Scarborough, which was a part in the original one. Mm-hmm. He's an older guy that used to be a football player.
But it wasn't the part that he didn't play Nate Scarborough in the original.
No, he played the part that Sandler's playing in the remake.
Okay. I've never seen the remake of The Longest Yard. I've never seen the original, actually, so I'm not familiar with it.
That's one of those movies. That's one that he has. There's like 10 former NFL stars in there, a couple of wrestlers in there.
Wow.
And some major. I mean, James Cromwell.
Oh, yeah. That was a pick.
He's the warden of the prison in this one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a plethora of stars. Huge number of people in this movie, including some people that, again, he started using in other things. Then you get a comedy that, in my mind, is actually one of the best movies he's ever done, Click.
I love that movie.
It's a comedy, but it's almost like a
partial crude Sandler comedy that's
then it's a Wonderful Life in reverse.
Yes.
And
that's what I loved about it. It you don't expect it to be as good as it is.
No, it's
you're like, okay, like it was especially marketed. The way that it was marketed, I remember, because it was marketed like a crude Sandler comedy.
And then suddenly
this is
the
another Happy Gilmore with a magical remote control that controls time or whatever. Okay, cool. Let's go see it. And then you watch it and you're crying by the end of it.
The emotional things that come down from it are just amazing.
Yeah. That was like, I loved that movie.
You get Click, and then you get right after Click, you get another serious movie, Reign Over Me.
I didn't see that one.
Probably because it was a very serious movie.
Right.
So now we're at 2007.
Not that I wouldn't be interested in seeing those. I wanted to see Punch Drunk Love when it came out. I just never had the opportunity.
So now we're at 2007.
Okay.
Next movie of 2007 that comes out. Damn, I wrote it down in letters because I didn't want to write the whole name of it. And
what are the letters?
What it is. There it is. I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry.
Oh, yeah.
Which is back to comedy.
Yep.
But dealing with some social issues. And this is one where he really brought in all of his stars and started the filmatic relationship with Kevin James, who was big at that time coming off of the King of Queens TV series.
Definitely.
And, I mean, he had movies thrown at him and everything.
Oh, yeah.
This
was before or after Paul Blart?
Around the same time.
Of Paul Blart.
So
I remember it was
when Kevin James was getting movies left and right. This is when he was brought in for it.
Yeah.
Then you have one of my favorite movies, and this definitely goes more to the cornball Adam Sandler movies.
Right.
It's actually a parody of Middle Eastern films. You Don't Mess with the Zohan.
Oh yeah. This one definitely is. I remember it's been flagged pretty bad. It would not fly today kind of a movie.
Not really. I mean and it's another fantastic
where an actor
role.
Plays and the issue is when actors play roles from other races.
Well, now hold on.
That's the weird part.
Adam Sandler is Jewish.
He's not who I'm talking about.
For him to play an Israeli commando is not a stretch. Are you talking about Turturro?
No,
because
I'm talking about Schneider.
Oh, Schneider. Okay.
Schneider was pretty bad.
Schneider does play...
Schneider is unapologetic about those roles, though.
Yeah.
Like, you watch them happen. It's almost like seeing Schneider in those roles is almost like seeing Tom Cruise as Les Grossman. You don't expect it, but you kind of do, but then at the same time, you look at it and go, good Lord, that is extreme.
I mean, the one thing you have going
so it's something you can't take seriously.
The one thing you can think about with Schneider is the fact that he is of mixed race heredity. Yes. So I mean, maybe he's not entirely the typical problem with that is when an actor that is Caucasian or white is playing different ethnicities, right? And it's usually a little more forgivable when people of mixed race heritage play different races. It's usually a little more forgivable, but not always.
It depends on whether or not they share one of those races, and whether or not the marketing of the race is not a caricature. The problem was that he was playing a caricature.
Oh yeah,
an extreme one.
Him and his goat.
And he was a comedy.
Yes,
it was a comedy. He's a comedian, but at the same time.
Sometimes you can go overboard.
I remember seeing it the first time. I laughed like any other person who wasn't sensitive to that subject at the time. Now you see it and it's a little cringy. I'm just saying it's a little cringy.
I'm not going to disagree with you on that one. That one came out in 2008. Also in 2008, a movie called Bedtime Stories.
I don't know that one.
Which is another one where he kind of pulled in a couple of big stars, including can't even think of his name now. He dated Katy Perry for a while. Tall, British musician, super skinny. Not musician, comedian, British comedian.
Tall British...
Russell Brand.
He dated Katy Perry?
Yes, he did for a while. I think
that guy has become like a freaking consciousness guru or something crazy like that.
Russell Brand was in it. Guy Pearce was in it.
Wow.
The guy who played Vernon Dudley in the Harry Potter movies. I can't think of his name either. He was in it. I mean, it was a huge number of people that were kind of in that movie. Lucy Lawless is in Bedtime Stories.
Wow.
So is Kerry Russell. And Courtney Cox.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's some pretty big names in the movie. Very fun, fanciful. That's almost a kid's movie, Bedtime Stories is. It's one that I really love. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
Then we're getting into more of the, another one that's kind of almost serious but not, Funny People. Came out in 2009.
Funny People was good, though.
It was.
I liked Funny People.
That, interestingly enough, was an Apatow movie.
That's a Judd Apatow movie?
Yeah.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
But then you see...
No, that was good. I remember that one being fantastic.
Then you see another one of his collaborations of all of the people that he's done stuff with.
Yeah.
And this is when he really starts pulling these things together. We have the movie Grown Ups in 2010.
Yes.
Then you have Just Go With It, bringing in Jennifer Aniston, again, another big star working with him.
Right.
You have Jack and Jill, bringing in a huge star, Al Pacino, and then making probably the worst movie of his entire career.
Yeah.
Awful, awful film. But Al Pacino...
Doesn't he play himself, too?
He plays... Who, Al Pacino?
Yeah.
Yes, Al Pacino is playing himself.
Yeah.
But Sandler plays one character, and that character's obnoxious twin sister.
Right.
And it's just that Al Pacino apparently falls in love with. It's an awful movie. It's an awful film. But, and Al Pacino's worst film by far.
Yes.
Even worse than anything he was in for Coppola and Scorsese. Ha, I said it.
I hate you.
Then you have, those are in 2011. In 2012, you get That's My Boy. Where he teams up with kind of his successor at SNL, Andy Samberg.
Oh, man.
Where he's Andy Samberg's father. This actually brings in a couple...
Okay, that would be funny.
Oh, no, it gets better. It gets better.
Boy, it just feels like he just kind of went downhill. But at the same time, I remember a lot of the comedies were pretty downhill.
That's My Boy has a great premise to it, dude.
Never seen it.
He's 12 years old and has sex with his teacher. His teacher is impregnated. She gets thrown in jail. He becomes a major celebrity as a result of sleeping with his teacher. And tries to raise his kid, but fails at it, so his kid gets taken away from him. Years later...
Oh, my goodness.
Years later, his kid has grown up, and his kid's wanting to get married, and he ends up finding out about his kid wanting to get married, and...
So he shows up.
He shows up trying to be a part of it, and finds out a whole bunch of freaky things going on with his kid's fiance's family, and... There's some major stars in this.
Really?
Milo Ventimiglia, or whatever his last name is. He's on the TV show This Is Us. He was in the TV show Heroes for many years. He's also played Rocky's son in the Rocky movies.
Oh, wow.
Multiple times, because he actually has the same lip condition that Sylvester Stallone has, where one side of his lip is somewhat paralyzed. Whoa. He was also on Gilmore Girls for a long time, if anybody's a Gilmore Girls watcher. Sadly, I've watched Gilmore Girls more than I want to admit to, and I just did. Damn it! But this is the first time
it's on the internet now.
This is the first time he was in one of his movies, which he appears in a later movie.
Okay,
but it is a messed up movie. Now. Vanilla Ice is in the movie.
Now I really want to see this.
Tony Orlando is in the movie.
I don't know Tony Orlando off the top of my head.
James Caan has a small role as a minister in this movie. This is a crazy movie.
Stop selling me this movie. I want to see it already.
This is a crazy movie. So that's again back into the comedy. Then you have the Hotel Transylvania, the first one of those animated film.
That's where he started. Dude, that Hotel Transylvania film skyrocketed him back up.
Then we have Grown Ups 2, bringing all those people back again. Yep. Throwing in, by the way, Shaquille O'Neal.
It's kind of like his version of Daddy Daycare.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Good Lord.
And bringing in Milo Ventimiglia again as a frat boy. Arnold Schwarzenegger's son, the one that he actually had with Maria Shriver, not the one he had with his housekeeper. and bringing in from the Twilight series, damn, I forgot his name now. The guy who plays Jacob, the wolf boy in the Twilight movies.
Oh, Taylor Lautner, yeah.
Yes, bringing in him. In fact, he has a big fight scene with Taylor Lautner at the end, where Taylor Lautner ends up getting beat and kind of destroyed by a freaking deer at the end of the movie, because that's how crazy this film is. It's an insane film. But you're talking...
This is Grown Ups 2?
This is Grown Ups 2, yeah.
What the hell? Okay.
2. It's terrible, but it's funny as hell. Then you go into The Cobbler, the other awful movie of his career. We're up to 2014 at this point.
Okay.
Blended, his third time around with Drew Barrymore, and one of his Let's Go on a Vacation movie, because where does Blended take place? In Africa. And it's like, hey, let's get everybody together and we'll go on a vacation to Africa and make a movie at the same time.
That's great.
And Terry Crews, by the way, steals that film completely.
Terry Crews steals every film.
Just about, yes.
Terry, okay, so
he was in The Longest Yard. He's a character in The Longest Yard that smuggles in cheeseburgers from McDonald's for people. He's called Cheeseburger Eddie. That's his name. And he's just reaching in his pants and pulling out cheeseburgers at various moments of time. It's just like, okay. And of course, doing the peck flex.
Of course.
Because that's what he does.
Yes.
But then you get a movie that came out in 2015 that started the contract that he had with Netflix.
Okay.
And tell you what, we're going to take a break right now. We'll come back.
Oh.
We'll talk about the Netflix contract.
Okay.
And then the last few of his movies. I was hoping to get through all of them in the first half, but we're going to have to do some in the second half.
Okay.
And then we're going to go back and pick out some of our favorites and talk a little bit more about our favorites.
Yeah.
So we'll be right back in just a minute.
All right.
Hey friends, this is Mike from the Xennial Chronicles reminding you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Xencron, spelled Xenchron, to keep up to date on all things TXC. And please check out our official website, theXennialChronicles.com, or if that's too much to type, Xencron.com. Thanks again for listening, and now, back to the show.
And we are back.
Hey.
So, I said when we left that we were going to talk about Netflix, right?
Yeah.
And what happened was Adam Sandler ended up signing a contract, big one with Netflix.
Yeah.
At a minimum of 5 movies, but possibly more after that. This was kind of an unheard of thing at that time point.
Has he done all those already?
I'll get to that.
Okay.
But
because I remember it was a few years ago that.
This was 2015 that he signed this and put out the first movie for this. Mm-hmm. And this was unprecedented at the time. Mm-hmm. Netflix was just starting to get into the TV shows and the various things that they were doing, their own original movies.
Yeah.
So this was like, what the heck are you guys doing, Netflix?
Yeah.
With signing on a movie star to do 5 movies with you.
Right.
Well, Netflix kind of knew what it was doing because people were interested in wanting to see these movies.
Mm-hmm.
And the first of these movies was the Western parody, The Ridiculous Six.
Yes.
Now, I can say I've watched this movie 4 or 5 times.
Oh, you have? Okay. Now, I have seen it up to a certain fraction and wanted to continue, and then life got in the way, and I was never able to watch the rest of it.
It is an amazingly funny movie.
Yeah, it's very
so
cartoonesque. Good. It's meant to be crude. It's meant to be dumb.
Oh yes, it is definitely offensive. Please do not watch that movie with kids.
Yeah,
because it is very offensive.
Yeah, totally.
But I mentioned Taylor Lautner earlier. This is the second movie that Taylor Lautner did with him.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Taylor Lautner's character is amazing.
He's pretty funny. Yeah.
Oh, just. Sometimes,
I haven't seen everything they've done, right? But I got up to the point where he gets introduced, and I think a couple of scenes in, and I remembered being like, I'm gonna want to see the rest.
There's
of this.
a hanging scene.
Yeah,
that's actually really, really funny.
Oh, okay,
hilariously funny.
Yeah.
But no, every time now I watch Twilight with my wife, which happens on a more regular basis than I want it to happen because she likes the Twilight movies.
Right.
It's awful. But every time he shows up on screen, usually his first appearance on screen in any one of the Twilight movies, the first thing I say is, "Gold dang!" Because that's like his catchphrase in the movie. And it's just, my wife can't help but laugh.
There's only one way to watch Twilight for me, to be completely honest.
Commentary?
The Riff Tracks commentary.
I do my own.
Oh yeah.
I do my own.
I did that beforehand, but I mean, these guys are pros. They're the Mystery Science Theater guys.
I have a sister-in-law that
goodness.
apparently I've never been able to be around when she does her version of kind of Riff Tracks for the Twilight movies.
Yeah.
But apparently they are way more hilarious than mine, and I'm pretty funny. So yeah, it's the only way I enjoy watching them. Those are movies that I just tell my wife, listen, you've seen these enough times, I'm going to make fun of them, and you're going to have to deal with it. If you want me to sit through this, I'm going to keep making fun of them.
Who knows? She could be just sitting here watching Twilight right now because she's got the time.
No, she's on an NCIS binge right now, watching it from the very beginning. I don't mind it. Mark Harmon, he's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Although I will say this, actually, funny thing that you mentioned that. There was a guest star on, because NCIS, one of those shows, has a lot of guest stars that are guest stars on other things. Like I think I saw Zac Efron on there a couple days ago.
Okay.
But it was an actress that's in the TV show Blue Bloods now. She has a regular part in Blue Bloods. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even recognize who she was when she made the appearance in the show. And my wife said, "Oh, she knows what she's talking about. Her husband's a cop." And I'm like, "What? What show is she from?" And she had this look of like, "Aha! I beat the master." He didn't know. He had no idea what show it was she was from. I got him, and I was like, "Damn it! I didn't know." Yeah, she had to inform me she was from Blue Bloods. I'm like, "Well, I don't watch that show anyway, so." And so that's just me being a little whiner. But anyway, so you have Ridiculous Six.
Yeah.
This starts his Netflix contract. But he's still doing other movies.
Okay.
The movie Pixels comes out. Also
that one
2015.
flopped hard, I remember.
It flopped hard, but have you seen it?
No.
Oh my God, it's an amazing movie.
Especially and it's like up my alley, like it's a video game movie.
And it's another Kevin James vehicle, him and Kevin James together.
Okay. I know the creator of Pac-Man is in it.
Peter Dinklage is in it as well. And Peter Dinklage plays an amazing part.
Really?
Yeah, he's another video gamer from back in the day, arcade gamer.
Uh-huh.
And he's like totally full of himself. He's actually a parody of the guy, the King of Kong guy.
He's a parody of Billy Mitchell?
With the Billy Mitchell, that's the one that has the...
Yeah, with the long hair, and he's a total
He's
douche.
got the long hair, he's got the glasses.
You know that guy got freaking found out to be a fraud, right, for King Kong? Donkey Kong? So did the character that in the movie. That's hilarious, because that movie came out before that happened.
Yeah.
And Mitchell, I thought he sued for his likeness being found out to be a cheater.
He may have. I don't know.
I remembered that it was proven that Mitchell was cheating because the video footage was run on like some type of an emulator or something like that. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, it wasn't working. It wasn't a real arcade console.
It was not a real arcade console.
Or at least it wasn't real.
It was a hacked arcade console to show a playthrough that was that, but he did not do the playthrough himself.
In the movie, he's got he wears glasses all the time. Dinklage's character wears glasses,
right?
That has cheat stuff apparently written into it.
That's hilarious.
But they actually have to enact some of the video games. So there's a scene in New York City where they're driving around in little cars,
right,
doing Pac-Man.
Yes,
they're the ghosts.
Oh, so Pac-Man's hunting down the cars.
Yeah, they have to get away from Pac-Man.
That's great.
Yeah, and catch Pac-Man.
Cool.
So it's a fun movie. It's got some very fun moments in it. I like it. But it's definitely more of that escapism and whatnot.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Him. Then you get the second Hotel Transylvania movie. All those in 2015.
Was the second Hotel Transylvania a Netflix deal?
No, that one was just a straight...
that was just something he was already
That was a
DreamWorks,
I think. I think DreamWorks
That's
did
what
those.
I thought, yeah.
But that's where you see even more so the torch being passed to him as the modern-day Jewish comedian. Because in that, he plays Dracula. Uh-huh. And... they had to have a character of Dracula's dad appear in that movie.
Yes.
And Dracula's dad is voiced by Mel Brooks. We discussed that actually in our Mel Brooks
fantastic.
episode. So that really passes the torch of Jewish filmmaker, comedian to Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
Then you have the next Netflix movie, Do-Over.
Do-Over.
Yes, and I believe this one stars, I want to say that it's Hairpiece that's in Do-Over.
Hairpiece?
Yeah, Hairpiece.
Oh,
yeah, it's David Spade.
Oh, Hairpiece.
It's David Spade. Yeah, the joke that from Tommy Boy that he had with the hairpiece.
Oh, wow.
But anyway,
sorry, that's taken way back.
Far-reaching joke.
Yeah,
it's an Adam Sandler, David Spade, which again they all worked together at SNL at the same time.
Yeah, for sure.
David Spade was probably the person that was closer to Farley than even Sandler was.
They were
inseparable, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Tight.
But that was another one of the Netflix movies. Was The Do-Over.
Yeah,
and it's basically about Sandler's a kind of a secret agent. Used to go to school with David Spade's character. Mm-hmm. David Spade's just a normal, ordinary guy, works at a grocery store, and he gets involved in all the secret agent stuff.
Cool.
Another one that was shot on location in an exotic locale, some islands, some nice
vacation movie.
Yep, this is another one of the Adam Sandler vacation films. Then you get the Meyerowitz stories, another serious movie. Sadly, I know nothing about this one. I didn't even know it existed until I saw it on here. Then you have a movie called Sandy Wexler, where he is he's a Hollywood talent agent. Basically, this is another one of the Netflix movies.
Okay,
it's kind of a mystery movie to some extent.
Oh, okay,
but pretty good movie. I watched it one time. I wouldn't say not to watch it, but I wasn't necessarily interested in watching it multiple times over, like some of the other movies, like Little Nicky or Longest Yard or something like that.
Yeah.
So not overly funny, but all right. Shortly thereafter, he did his next Netflix movie. Now, I am glossing over the movies where he maybe had small bit parts for other people's films.
Right.
I'm focusing only on his movies. His major movies.
Yeah.
He did a movie called The Week Of with Chris Rock, where his son and Chris Rock's daughter, I believe, are getting married.
Cute.
Or maybe it's his daughter and Chris Rock's son. I don't remember. I watched like a half hour of it, and that one I can say I didn't enjoy.
Oh, okay.
But that was his third Netflix movie, or fourth one. So we have Ridiculous Six, Do-Over, Sandy Wexler, and The Week Of, 4 of his Netflix movies of the 5 original deal.
Okay.
Then he's had and that takes us to 2018 with The Week Of. The Week Of came out in 2018.
Okay.
Also out in 2018, a movie called Uncut Gems.
Oh,
another very serious movie, rated R movie.
This one is like...
This is one that actually had him in some award consideration.
Yeah.
Because of the part that he plays. Admittedly, I don't know a lot about it other than he seems to be a guy that does a lot of gambling. And there's obviously going to be gemstones involved with the title.
Right.
But this is one that definitely finally started having him an award consideration because he's been up for Razzie Awards before, as to be expected.
Right.
But he's never really been up for any major what's considered real award contention. This one kind of put him in that category. He didn't win anything to the best of my knowledge, but it was definitely something that got some hype and talking about him being a serious actor doing some serious stuff. At the same time as that, he did another Hotel Transylvania movie, the voiceover of that. Mm-hmm. And I just want to remind people, the Hotel Transylvania movies, that's, again, him with all of his normal characters in it, normal friends. Yeah. So he's in it. Kevin James is in it. Steve Buscemi is in it. David Spade is in it. All of these people that he normally works with, he brings in to do the voices for these various movies.
Yeah.
In fact, in one of them, CeeLo Green is a voice, and in the very next one, it's Keegan-Michael Key, who takes over the voice of the character because CeeLo couldn't do it.
Oh. Well, that sucks.
But then you have the final one that he's released so far.
Uh-huh.
So far. He has a few in development. Another Hotel Transylvania one, interestingly enough.
Of course.
And then
that's going to be like his Moneymaker franchise kids movie kind of deal for a while.
So he has stuff in development. The last major one he released was the 5th of his Netflix movies. A movie called Murder Mystery, which brings back Jennifer Aniston.
I heard about this one.
I told you about this one, in fact. This is one where he's a New York cop.
Yes.
Who basically forgets to get the proper anniversary present for his wife, which is supposed to be a trip to Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Ends up basically cashing out every single dime that he has to get the trip to Europe, but he's trying to take like a cheapy trip to Europe.
Right.
And ends up getting kind of brought into the craziness of a murder mystery plot with this rich family from Europe.
Right.
And I want to say one thing. It's funny as hell, but it's also completely and utterly insane movie. And the biggest key about it is it's a murder mystery movie. It really is.
So it's a legit murder mystery movie.
Totally legit. It is based on, it's got a kind of basis and connection to like Murder on the Orient Express type of thing.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah. In fact, the very end of the movie, are given a trip to go, more trip in Europe and throughout, Europe and Asia.
Yeah.
And they get on the Orient Express at the very end. So they even tip the hat directly to the Murder on the Orient Express stuff. But it is a fantastic movie. It takes and flips things on you. Like there's a car chase scene at the end.
Yeah.
And Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston are in a freaking Ferrari Testarossa chasing another car.
Whoa.
Who's driving?
I don't know who's driving.
Jennifer Aniston. And she doesn't really know how to drive a stick.
Oh, so she's driving. Oh my gosh.
In a freaking Ferrari.
In a Testarossa. Oh my goodness.
And it's like you're watching it go, and it may not be a Testarossa. Heck, it may be a Lamborghini. I could be totally wrong. But
it's a really freaking
whatever
nice
it is,
car.
it's a freaking Italian sports car.
Yeah.
And she has no idea what she's doing trying to drive this thing.
That's
and
hilarious.
So it kind of flips all those things on its head. It's a really interesting movie and true murder mystery as well as being an Adam Sandler comedy. So that's where he's at now. These are the movies that some we've both seen, some only one of us has seen. But now we're going to talk about the ones that we've mentioned a bit as we're going over them. Which ones really we would recommend for people to watch and which ones that mean a lot to us. And throw one out first.
Oh, I would go with my first one, Happy Gilmore.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. That was like that's the first movie I ever saw from him. Still ridiculously funny to this day.
Still quotable.
Still
it's
super
all
quotable.
in the hips.
Oh yeah,
it's all in the hips.
The price is wrong, bitch.
Bob Barker, actually, funny enough, Bob Barker wasn't originally going to have that part. They had somebody else that they were going to have do that part.
Who?
I don't remember who else they were going to have, but they were going to have somebody else. And Bob Barker said the only way that he's going to do it is if he actually gets to do his own fighting in it.
And he did.
Yeah, all of the stunts. That's all him doing.
Yeah. There also was, what? Actually, funny enough, Bob passed away some years ago, didn't he?
Yeah.
So they did an MTV Awards, I believe, at one point.
They got Best Fight.
Well, that got Best Fight.
Yeah, that got Best Fight.
No. Here, check this out. It gets better.
Yeah.
Okay. So some years afterwards, they presented Best Fight.
Oh, the two of them?
The two of them presented Best Fight, but they did it via satellite live because Bob was feeling bad and was in the hospital. Adam went to Bob's hospital room and was like, hey, I'm here with a friend of mine. He's not feeling too well, blah, blah, blah. And they staged the whole thing, and the two of them have a fight in a hospital.
I don't remember this.
Adam Sandler fights Bob Barker in a hospital to present the MTV Award for Best Fight in a Movie.
That's awesome. I don't remember this happening, but wow.
Awesome. It was fantastic. I'm going to have to find it.
Yes, I'm going to have to see this.
I believe it was MTV, if I'm not mistaken. They do Best Fight and stuff.
It would be their awards that would have Best Fight.
Yeah. So I believe it was for that. You have to see it.
Yeah.
I will find it for you when we're done with this podcast.
Okay. I'm interested in seeing that.
Yeah.
I would agree. Happy Gilmore is definitely a good place to start. I always say Wedding Singer. Because that's especially if you're looking at a slice of 80s
staple
life
too, man. Yeah,
I mean it's got everything that you could possibly want as the slice of 80s life.
Some of my favorite situational comedy scenes are in that film.
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
Like the Van Halen joke?
I don't remember the Van Halen joke.
You don't remember the Van Halen joke?
No.
The one girl he's trying to get away from is wearing his Van Halen shirt, and he says, "Stop wearing the shirt, or the band will break up. You're gonna curse him." And that was of course while
they ended up firing David. And
it's while David was still the singer. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think my favorite one was so. The theme, to anybody who hasn't seen the film, a lot of these wedding singers, he's one in a group of wedding singers, part of a company that's hired out kind of like tribute act wedding singers. He is not specifically attributed to a specific artist, if I remember correctly.
Well, no, he basically just at that time. At that time, you need to understand that at the time in the 80s, you didn't get really a DJ to play music at your weddings.
Right.
You had to hire a band to play music at the wedding reception. Yeah. And the band would try to play basically cover versions of popular songs that were danceable.
So you've got wedding band, high school prom band, the same kind of deal, right? Yeah. So these
play
guys
Free Bird. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But a lot of these acts, a lot of these bands, or a lot of these specific tribute acts
would sometimes try to look
tributes
like
that would try to look like certain acts, and my favorite one. Well, there was one that was the Michael Jackson one.
Yeah,
which was great. There's the scene where he sings "Love Stinks" in the middle of the reception, which is hilarious. After the breakup portion, I believe, my favorite one though, out of all of them, was just this. So, the band is. Oh, I'm sorry. It was one band with multiple singers, and each of those singers was a tribute to a specific artist. So one of them was a tribute to Boy George.
Are you talking? Well, that was in Sandler's band.
Yes,
Alexis Arquette.
Yes. So one of them is a tribute to Boy George. And he sings the song, he sings Culture Club, Do You Really Want to Hurt Me?
Yeah.
And they get done with the song, and I believe Adam was supposed to go on at that point. Adam's character's supposed to go on, and he's not. He's busy, he's doing something else. He's not there.
Yeah.
So he turns back around to the band, gives a turnaround signal. They start playing the song over again.
Yeah,
once it was obviously done, and they didn't know what to do.
It's the only song he knows.
The only song he knows is Do You Really Want to Hurt Me?
It's a good song. I mean, it's a good song.
It's not a wedding song.
No, it's definitely not a wedding song, but it's a good song.
But it's the fact that tribute artist is in a band, a working band that gets paid and literally only knows one damn song.
I like the if I remember correctly, they're auditioning bands at one point for Drew Barrymore's character's wedding reception, and I think John Lovitz comes in and does his thing, and it's hilarious because John Lovitz anytime he has a small part in anything, it's always hilarious.
Oh yes,
I mean we can jump then to Little Nicky and his small part in the beginning of Little Nicky, where he's a peeping Tom and then dies, goes to hell, and then a giant horny bird follows him around trying to molest him the entire time he's in hell.
Oh, dude. Okay, yeah, that would. If we're moving on to another one that I recommend.
Little Nicky.
You had The Waterboy, which is a huge hit, but Little Nicky is my jam, dude. That is a fantastic film.
That's a movie that we could put on right now, and just both of us would sit and watch and make so much fun of. If
anybody wants, if there is anything that you want to revel in the ultimate fate that would be hell for anybody that you hated, Adolf Hitler is dressed up as a French maid and has a pineapple shoved up his ass at multiple times during the day.
Yes, more than once a day.
More than once, different sizes, and always by the spiky end.
Yes.
That is my favorite gimmick in that whole film.
Yeah,
because it happens more than once.
When Harvey Keitel asks him to get a bigger one, when he's got the little tiny one. And what's Hitler's response?
You're serious.
Yes, he is. No, the Dan Marino moment in that is hilarious.
Yes.
You did it for Namath. Yeah, but I was a Jets fan. And the fact you get Harvey Keitel to play the devil, the current devil.
Right.
And then you get Rodney Dangerfield to play Lucifer, the devil's father.
Oh, and he's fantastic.
And he's the one who does the second pineapple up Hitler's butt.
Yep.
Then you got Chubbs up in heaven.
Yep.
With Little Nicky's mom,
Reese Witherspoon. Yeah.
One of my favorite lines is delivered by who would become the lady who would become Adam Sandler's wife. That's actually Adam Sandler's wife.
Oh.
I don't think they were married yet at that point, but that's who becomes his wife. And maybe they were married already at that point. But somebody says, God's smart, and her response, her add on to that is, yeah, like Jeopardy smart. And that, I remember the first time I heard that line, I was just like, oh my God, this is brilliant. This is completely brilliant.
I didn't know that was his wife. That's cool.
Yes. You have Jonathan Longren and I can't think of his name. He plays, I think his real name is Dante, who play the two stoners.
Oh yeah,
the two metalheads in the park. In fact, Mike and I used to do some of their lines just for fun. What you did, you did the beer line, right?
The beer line?
Yes.
Which was the beer line? No, I just remember Chicago kicks ass.
Chicago kicks ass. Sleep.
Oh my God, what was
Sleep. You got it.
It's been forever since I've seen it.
Just so many great performances.
I feel like I dropped the ball on that one. I apologize.
Let's also add you have as playing Adam Sandler's brothers, the sons of Satan, are Zeus Tiny Lister, who's just he's funny in everything he does. First, by the way,
amazing.
One of the first cinematic black presidents ever.
Oh, I did not.
Yes, in the Fifth Element, he's the president.
He plays it. You're right.
Yes. So even before Morgan Freeman got his president on multiple times,
Zeus Lister.
Debo for president.
Debo for president.
Debo for president. Actually, there's a 49er player this last year who goes by the nickname Debo.
No.
He's actually a short little guy. He's a receiver. But
that's great.
But he's knocking people over when he catches the ball. He's hardcore.
Hey, low center of gravity, man.
His nickname is Debo, and when Lister found out about it, he went and bought a Debo Samuel jersey and posted a bunch of stuff.
Debo jersey.
But, yeah, Debo completely approves him of being Debo.
Yes.
So that's when that happened. I was like, "This is cool. This is awesome." When I was telling my wife about it, I'm like, "Niners just drafted some guy whose nickname is Debo, and that's how he's listed in the stuff. He's not listed under his real first name in the NFL. He's listed as
awesome.
Debo Samuel." And she's like, "His name is Debo? What is he, a lineman? No, he's a receiver." Oh damn! If he has a name like Debo as a receiver, yup. But anyway, so you have Zeus Tiny Lister, and then you have Reese Iffens. And his name does not look like it should be pronounced Reese, but his name is Reese because he's Welsh, and they pronounce things really weird there. Like the guy who played Mr. Fantastic in the 2 really bad Fox Fantastic Four movies.
Oh, uh-huh.
His name looks like it should be Ian Grufford, but his name is actually Ioan Griffith. That's how you actually pronounce it.
Ioan
Griffith. Because the Welsh pronounce things really, really, really weird. Like really weird. Yeah, it's whatever. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm dissatisfied. But at the same time, I mean,
they're Welsh.
Wales has been around longer than the United States, so I can't be a critic.
I mean, can you name me a Welsh actor?
No,
I can.
Well, yeah, you can. That's movies are your thing.
I mean, technically, there was a Welsh actor that played Batman. That should be easy for you to figure out, though.
Christian Bale is Welsh?
Yes, he is.
I did not know that.
Christian Bale is Welsh. He never speaks in his accent, especially when he's doing an American movie.
He also pronounces his damn name right, too.
What? Well, yeah. Good point, sir. Good point. But the two of them, Zeus Tiny Lister. Now, keep in mind, Zeus Tiny Lister, he is a big, huge African-American guy, former wrestler.
Oh, yeah, he's humongous.
Crazy
intimidating.
Reese Iffens is a tall, skinny, pasty British dude.
Yep, white dude. Super white.
Super white. Like glowing in the dark white.
Yeah.
So for the two of them to be Little Nicky's brother, who's a hunchback, and got a goofy-looking face because he got hit in the face with a shovel. Part of the story, actually. You'd have to watch it to see. But just amazing casting, amazing characters in there. Throw in the fact that you get Patricia Arquette in there as his love interest.
Yeah.
Clint Howard in probably the best cameo in his career because he's done so many cameos in Ron Howard movies and so many things. No. His art student cameo in Little Nicky, best thing he's ever done. Period.
My favorite, dude, the cameos are insane. I have 2 favorite cameos.
In that movie?
Yes.
Winkler. No, not Winkler?
No, not Winkler.
Okay.
Winkler's good.
Okay.
But my 2 favorites are Quentin Tarantino.
Yes, as the blind
preacher.
Prophet, preacher, whatever.
Yeah, Quentin Tarantino.
I'm really on fire now.
And Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh, God, yes. The fact that the Prince of Darkness comes in at one point or another.
Yeah.
And the response to the Prince of Darkness is showing up is an animated, early CGI animated bat that Reese Iffens has turned into saying, "Holy shit." And that's a good response at that point in time.
Yep.
Here. Hit him with this. Beautiful moment. Prince of Darkness, thank you for being in that movie.
Yes.
You make it in that little bitty moment. Plus the soundtrack of that movie, other than the POD song, was fantastic. Great soundtrack. I just have a POD thing.
POD was, but that was like School Hard Knocks. That was like one of the good ones.
I guess.
That was one of the good ones. I'm okay with POD. I'm all right with POD. I actually heard a...
Dude, I don't know them personally, personally they may be okay, just their music just does not click.
I actually bought a POD album quite some time back called Murdered Love. It's a more recent one. It came out in like 2015.
So did they kind of switch up the way they were doing things?
It's dope. They actually have some...
thematically, they were a little bit heavy-handed back in the early aughts.
They were, okay, so they still kind of have that, but they pursued a more... they pursued a heavier sound as well.
Okay.
So it's a lot, like it's something you can get into.
Okay.
Message, theme, by the wayside. Because I still kind of keep to that.
Because their message and theme was a little bit heavy-handed.
Murdered Love was good stuff.
Okay,
that's a good song. It's real heavy.
I'll have to check it out at some point. I'll have to check it out at some point. But after Little Nicky, we mentioned Waterboy as being big. 50 First Dates for me is also a really fun movie. Yeah. I had a good friend who grew up in Hawaii. And so anytime I saw a movie that had anything to do with Hawaii, I would ask him questions about it, see what kind of authenticity stuff.
Yeah.
That one I think is just kind of one of the more beautiful movies he makes. Plus what his character does in that movie is like, for those of you, I mean, it's an old movie, so most people should know, but it's a woman that has amnesia. And basically she can remember, she can't remember anything that happened before this accident that she had.
Okay.
So every day that she wakes up, her mind completely resets because she can't retain any new memories either.
Yeah, yeah.
So her mind completely resets to the day before this accident. And her brother and her dad kind of play along.
Yeah.
Blake Clark is her dad, who's been in a bunch of the Adam Sandler stuff, most notably in Waterboy as the Cajun coach.
Yes.
And then he's also the devil's assistant in Little Nicky.
Yes.
And so great parts in everything that he does, but he's the father in this. And then Sean Astin plays of Lord of the Rings fame and more recently of Stranger Things fame. But come on, if you don't know him from the Goonies and Lord of the Rings, go watch yourself some stuff.
For sure.
The parts that they play in that, while comedic, are still have so much true emotion.
Yeah.
And that's one of those songs that if I hear Israel, I can't pronounce his last name.
Yeah, it's a very, very large name.
Hawaiian name.
Yeah.
But if I hear his version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow, that's the first movie I think of, and I start bawling almost immediately because basically what Adam Sandler's character does is he figures out a way to try to tell her about her life every single day. He loves her enough that he's willing to work through every single day telling her what her life is and making her fall in love with him again every single day.
Yeah.
And that's just like, girls, any girls listening, this is exactly the type of guy you want. You want a guy that will make you fall in love with him every single day. If he's not going to do that, he's not worth your time and effort, period, ! It's such a beautiful movie. Even with all the comedy around in it, it's so beautiful about love.
Yeah.
Same thing we mentioned with Click. Click is one of those that, as much as there's comedy and there's moments of gross out comedy and stupid comedy and whatnot, this is a movie more about loving your family. Not even necessarily your spouse or your significant other, but loving your family and being able to see the joy and the wonder in the minute things of life instead of trying to rush through them as fast as possible. Let's see. So 50 First Dates, Click. Anything beyond that you'd recommend for people? I always recommend, if you want something really, really stupid and slightly offensive, watch You Don't Mess with the Zohan. I love that movie.
If you don't mind the whole offensiveness kind of deal, the cultural.
Plus, to watch Lainey Kazan, who mainly plays like mothers and grandmothers in movies. If you've seen the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding, she's the main character's mom in that movie. To see her getting all busy with Adam Sandler. When I say getting all busy, they's having sex because he's okay with having sex with the ladies regardless of their age. Go Zohan. Beyond that, hey, watch the Grown Ups movies. There's some kind of stupid, comedy, enjoyable. Get all those people together. Grown Ups 2, Taylor Lautner and Shaq steal the show. Shaquille O'Neal is amazing. He is I gotta see that. So funny.
I gotta see that.
Watch the Hotel Transylvania movies with your kids. Those are fun. And then again, for some mindless, offensive stuff, watch The Ridiculous Six.
Yeah,
and that's my boy. Offensive as all hell.
I haven't seen that.
But dear God, watch that movie. Adam Sandler playing off of Andy Samberg and the craziness of that story. There's a specific crazy scene that just literally, it's kind of jaw dropping. Like, oh crap, I did not see the movie going this way.
I definitely want to catch up on that one too.
But we're getting at the end of our time for this because we want to keep these fairly easy to be able to listen to, even during this time of crisis and whatnot. Yeah. So, Mike, where are people going to be listening to us?
Well, make sure to check us out at the XennialChronicles.com. You can go to Zencron.com as well. It's spelled XenChron. That's for our regular podcast is up on that. And I will say it also is the highest quality if you guys want to check it out a little bit higher.
High quality is good.
High quality is good. We are also available on Spotify. We're available on TuneIn. We're available on iTunes. No, we're available on Apple Podcasts is what it is. Google Podcast. All the podcasts. Find us everywhere.
Plus,
we also have a YouTube channel.
Yep, there's a YouTube channel.
Go ahead and check us out. Search for the Xennial Chronicles on YouTube. We are actually trying to get to 100 subscribers.
100
and we're getting
subscribers
closer and closer every week, which is wonderful.
Yes.
You get to that, we can actually get a custom URL, and that is our first stop. That's what we want to hit. So please,
that's our goal.
Go subscribe to us, especially if you're listening to us on YouTube, which is where you can find every podcast we've done so far.
By the way, on all those podcast places that you mentioned, all you have to do is type in the word Xennial. Mm-hmm. We're in the top 5.
Sweet.
On all of them.
Yeah, buddy.
So that's where you want to be looking for us. Thank you all for listening. Hopefully we've inspired you during this time of staying at home to watch a few Adam Sandler movies that you haven't watched. Get some humor, get some laughs. Try to make the best of this stay-at-home situation. I know I will. We'll talk to y'all technically in a few minutes, but for you all, it'll be next week.
Y'all have a good one.
Thank you for tuning in, friends. The journey continues next week.